Okay, we have different type of communications. You can see the type of the communication from here. For example, you can invite someone to the system. They receive an email with a link, and then clicking on get started, they can log in by the first time and enter into the system. Then, for example, there is a communication when you enter into the system, when you create a new account into the system, when an input for a user is requested, when a new case is created, when you receive the results of the update from the IPO. This is a process, an internal process. When you update multiple trademarks from the IPO, or for example when you add a note into the case. All these type of events are triggers for different communications. Generally, these communications are for other users in the system, and in the most of the situations, who send the communication is a firm, but in other situations it may be a case. For example, when you add a note into a case, you share the note with the client, who send the entity who send the communication is a case instead of a firm. In this case, in your case, just legal or your user is a case. Why? Because if you go to cases, and you open any one of them, clicking here in info, you will see that every case has its own email address. So in this way, when you add a note here and you share its note with your client using an email address, its email address, because there is not email address here, but it may be any email address there. You can define an email address from here. So when you are a note here and you share with your client, you will send an email to the client email address, and the from address of this email will be this address. Why? Because when the user or the client answer the email, what they enter into the email, their response will be added automatically here inside the note. So this is why sometimes the communications sender are not always the firm or the current user. It's changed. It depends of every case. So here in this screen, this window, you can select and you can create different communications templates depending of the sender, the type, and the channel where you are using, the channel that you are using in order to send the communication. Because for example, you can add a note into a file, and then maybe you want to send an email with the details of the note, with a copy of the note text, or maybe you just want to send an SMS saying the text of the note without any logo, without any type of colors, of background or design. So far we have only two, email and SMS. Web notification is under construction, but theoretically it will be here. It will be show here, a new notification from here, from the bell. So if you are sending a communication to a user of the system and the user is connected, it will see the notification here on the right side top of the screen. So the same events, the same type of communication, maybe be communicated or using different channels, an email, an SMS, a web notification. In the future, we are going to add here a mobile notification with our mobile app and different type of communication channel. So, and here you have the components for the message. These are all the fields or properties available into the notification. For example, here let's see one a bit more simple. This one, you have been invited, is the communication that the system sends when you from parties you edit the users of a company, and then you click here, you enter the first, last name and the email address, and you click on save, and a communication will be sent to the email address with this content, with the contents of you have been invited. So this email address, this email will be sent. So I see your email and I modified a couple of properties from the components when the component is a user. So in this case, for example, I've added the ability to include the first name and the last name of the user from and the user to all the entities of type user. Now you can include the first name and the last name. If you check here, you will see that this is the two user first name and last name properties here included here. It works on this way. You, for example, you want to enter here the first name, you have to select to user first name. You will see here a little description of the property, the type of the property, the var name, because it is an internal, but you need to include it into the path for the path for the property, and then you click here, add to template. So in this way, for example, you can include the first name and the last name of the user for the communication. This is still a work in progress because this is not a full finalized feature for low panel. But if you want, you can tell me a bit more about what do you want to create here, or what do you expect from here, and we can work on it. You can also delete the images and insert a new one. You have to enter a URL for the image, and then you can include it. For example, we can copy this URL, and then we can paste it here, and you will have it into the communication template. This is a bit big image. So that is the idea. From here you can also personalize the communications that are sent to the users or other entities of the system. But let me know what do you want exactly to do, and we can personalize it with all the details that you need. Okay, thank you very much, Terry.